Excellent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Genefa Murphy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Udemy, and we're excited to have our session today in a series that I call Going Beyond the Course. So really what today's session is all about is helping connect the community of marketers together with experienced leaders in the field so that you can get advice whether you're just starting your career or maybe you're trying to grow your career. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce all of our guest speakers with us today. So we're going to ask each of our speakers to introduce themselves. We're going to ask them who they are, what their role is today, how long they've been in the wonderful world of marketing, a little bit about their career journey, because not all journeys are linear, and also a fun fact or something interesting that you cannot find out about them on LinkedIn. And the great thing is we have got a global panel with us today. So Briain is joining us from Ireland. We've got Mattia, who's in Italy. We've got Diego in Brazil. So please drop in the chat where you're joining us from. And Briain, why don't you kick us off with the introductions?
Sure. Thanks, Genefa. Hi, everybody. I'm Briain. So I'm the VP of Global Marketing here at Whoop. I've been in marketing, I think about 18 or so years, coming up in the 20-year mark. Started my career at Google, where I spent nearly 7 years. I really bounced around the organization to get as much experience and exposure across all of the different parts. Google, when I started it, was a search engine, which sort of dates me. And over the course of the 7 years I was there, everything from Google Maps through to the YouTube acquisition happened. And so, as I say, through that 7 years, I spent time in customer support, sales, analytics, video, etc. And I realized I wanted to go client side. I wanted to work for a brand. And so from there, I went into the world of telco, where I spent 4 years and really cutting my teeth when it came to brand, sponsorship, activation, etc. Then I went to Fitbit. So Fitbit was starting their European HQ in Dublin, where I went and led digital marketing there for about 4 years, combining my kind of passions of tech and sport together, until the point where Google bought Fitbit, and I decided I didn't want to go back into the machine. And so I spent a little hiatus in fintech before the opportunity here at Whoop opened up, and I'm into my 5th year here at Whoop, leading what started as international marketing and is now global marketing. So my remit covers everything from PR to paid media, sponsorships, lifecycle marketing, and the actual business sits under me as well. So it's pretty wide remit. Fun fact, so I've 2 daughters, 9 and 6, who've really challenged how I see the world, if I'm honest. And so I have become, I've only realized recently, the biggest advocate for women and girls sport that you will meet.
I love that. I love that. And more so it should be. That's fantastic. I love that. I love the journey as well. And I love how you were like, Google, when it was search, it's still search. But now, as marketers will know, AI mode is killing us all. So we're all having fun times with that. But, thank you, Briain. Appreciate it. And great to see. We have got a whole mix of people. We've got Netherlands, we've got Brazil, we've got India, Lisbon, Toronto, South Wales, we've got Colorado, we've got Georgia. So yeah, we've got guests from everywhere. I love it. Excellent. And I love the fact that you are becoming an advocate for women in sports. That's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Okay, next up, Diego, on to you. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Hey guys, I'm Diego Davila. I am from Brazil. Right now I'm in Florianopolis. It's an island in the south of Brazil. We have 42 beaches around the island. Very nice place. People from Brazil probably know this place. So I started teaching on Udemy 10 years ago. I was a network admin. I was working in Portland, Oregon, in a big company as a network administrator. And I really like my job, but I was realizing that it was very stressful for me because the servers are down, the network is not performing well. So people always try to find me when they were like stressful and trying to solve problems. And I didn't like that much, that story. So I decided to search for something, a new job, a new role, a new career where I can share what I absolutely love, which is marketing and entrepreneurship with people all over the world. So I found Udemy, and I started in 2014 teaching about everything that I knew. So if I knew how to create a website, I will create a course about that. And I start growing that business until now. We are focusing specifically on digital marketing and artificial intelligence and how you can use AI to grow your business to reach more people, basically. A fun fact about me is that I was thinking in one fact, but I will use another. I did a pilgrimage in Spain, and I walked from the border of France to the Atlantic Ocean for 32 days, 800 kilometers. So 32 days straight. Yeah, it was a great experience. One of the most impactful experiences of my life, because during the journey, you have the chance to meet people all over the world, and also to meet yourself with different lenses than in our daily lives. So it was very impactful.
Oh, I love that, meeting yourself as well. That's a pretty intense journey, Diego. Very cool. Yes. Very cool. Awesome. And then last up, we've got Mattia.
Thank you, Genefa. Nice to meet you all, everyone. My name is Mattia Santin. I'm based here in Italy, currently responsible for growth, demand generation, and brand at Contentsquare. So Contentsquare is basically a group that includes the Contentsquare brand, Hotjar, and Heap. This is where I am right now in a B2B role, although my career has actually been much more focused on B2C and platforms. So I started originally with SEO and growth, demand generation as my first love within retail e-com. So brands like Vistaprint, agency before Vistaprint, and then Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, and Adidas and Reebok. This kind of phase one, moved into Uber, where I worked in media, so everything from above the line, TV, out of home, but obviously digital, big budgets, big countries, a lot of excitement, which then took me into the last phase, which is startup and scale ups in a much broader, either called a CMO or marketing lead role. So from a travel tech startup of 50 people, which was definitely a great learning experience, to a private equity led health and pharma scale up to now my role. So this is kind of a bit very diverse, lots of different experiences across 3 main countries: US, Spain, and the Netherlands, before coming back here to Italy. My fun fact, I had a lot in mind for this goal. I'm going to go with probably, I'm not sure if it's a fun one. If you ask my wife, it's probably more of a sad one, but I've been named the least Italian person that people know. Being Italian, born and raised, the accent is definitely not giving it away. My favorite food is Mexican. And there's all the places in Italy that I haven't visited. Actually, I was joking with Genefa before this. I've never been to the south of Italy. Sicily's still a place to go, and Venice is still on the list. So definitely, I take recommendation from anybody that has been there, which is again not a fun fact, but more something in my to-do list, I guess.
I love it, and we definitely wouldn't know that from looking on LinkedIn. That's excellent. And again, loving seeing everyone dropping in here: Pakistan, Tanzania, India. It's fantastic. And we have been dropping in each of the panelists LinkedIn. So part of this is, again, for you to build your community. I mean, just those intros. Wow. There are some awesome brands. You guys have done some incredible things in your careers. So we want you to all be connected. And one thing we explicitly said to all of our panelists is we want to make sure that you're okay with people reaching out and connecting with you. So we've been dropping in their LinkedIn profiles there. So please do go ahead and connect with our panelists, because that's the whole point of this, is bringing the community together. So let's get into our questions. Thank you all for your intros. So the first question that we are going to talk about is, because this is all about how do I get into marketing? How do I grow my career in marketing? So one of the key questions that I know a lot of people have is, what skills are you each looking for in people when you hire them? So when you hire them, what skills are you looking for? Briain, let's maybe start with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great question. I mean, when we're hiring people, there's sort of 3 dimensions to it. Depending on the level of the role, the first dimension is experience. So where you've worked, what roles you've had, experience, how long you've been in those roles. But obviously it depends on what sort of level role you're coming in for. The second piece are those hard skills. So again, depending on the role, if it's a role in paid media, for example, fluency in platform marketing, etc., is critical. But the third piece then is more around the soft skills. So most of the time when people get in front of me, the first 2 boxes are sort of ticked by preliminary interviews. I focus a lot more on the soft skills, so attitudes and behaviors. And what I'd boil it down to is 3 things. It's intensity, it's humility, and curiosity. I think when I find people that have those 3 attributes, I know they'd be a good fit in the team. So I need people that are motivated and intentional, but also don't bring an ego to their role and are insatiably curious to learn and to find out more, because that's half of what marketing is today. It's really having that curiosity on human behavior and campaign performance and really wanting to continually improve. And I think that's just something that's either ingrained in you or it's not.
Yeah, I like that. The IHC, so the IHC of things to look for. And I think as well, especially with people coming in to the career in marketing, be confident, but be humble as well, right? You don't, like, those 2 can go together. So you can have confidence, but you can also have that humility to know that you still need to learn more and there's always new opportunities. So yeah, I like that. Excellent. Mattia, what about you? What skills are you looking for when you hire people?
Definitely +1 what Briain said. I think a lot of the hard skills are important in the experience, but obviously depends on the role that I'm looking for. Also depends if it's a role reporting into me or not. Obviously that is another factor. For me, there's 2 things. One, the ability to think critically. What do I mean by that? Understanding that you're here to play a role, but at the same time understand that this person understands the bigger picture. So a bit of preparation, but a bit of also I'm looking a lot at the questions. I'm always thrown down by interviews that end up with like, I have no questions, it's all clear. That is a massive flag. And look, sometimes there's nothing wrong with it per se, but I think it's a great opportunity for that person to showcase questions or potentially even ideas or beyond the typical Q&A of an interview to get to know the person, right? So one question that I always ask, I'm probably not, hopefully not spilling the beans here and giving secrets away, but I may have shared with the panelists. I ask typically if the person was in my seat, what would they ask the candidate? And the reaction is always classic. The reaction to see people being thrown off a little bit from their game, maybe their routine. And that to me is also critical thinking, is the ability to be ready and be flexible is something that I value a lot. And then lastly, the best candidates that I've interviewed are the ones that I come out of the interview learning something new. So something either because of a question or because of an idea. Definitely those are the ones that I've enjoyed the most, that are still memorable for me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah, turn it on its head and always be prepared. And it's okay as well when you get a question like that to pause, right? Sometimes you can feel intimidated and be like, oh my God, I've got to give an answer. But it's okay to pause and to say, yeah, okay, give me a moment. Let me think about that and then come back with it. Diego, what about you? What are some of the things, you obviously deal with a lot of people who are new in their career, maybe don't have as much experience as well as those that are experienced. What do you look for when you're hiring people or you're advising people when they're going for these jobs?
That's a great question. So we in our students, we have a good number of people, as you mentioned, Genefa, that are beginners. They are either starting their journey on digital marketing, or they have a career already and they are career switchers. So they are switching from an established career to digital marketers. So we have beginner people, and we feel that when they see all that is going on with AI, all the tools that they need to learn, all the different aspects of marketing, usually they feel overwhelmed. And with that, they have difficulties learning and executing. So we always recommend to people that first they need to learn when they are switching careers, they are starting in marketing, they need to learn the area that they are most passionate about. So I like this specific area. So let me concentrate on that. And not only learning, but very important, they need to be able to execute. And that's one thing that we are seeing also in students, that they have some of them have difficulties executing the things that they are learning. And it's not enough just to learn. Learn is fun. We try to make it fun and it's interesting, and they are acquiring knowledge. But the most important thing is to execute, and also, as the other panelists mentioned, to have build experience. So start building a portfolio of their work, getting their first clients, start reaching more people, and from there they can build that portfolio, get that experience, and go into the market to find a corporate job, for example.
I think that's really important, because we had a couple of questions. Raza Mohammed both asked, when we don't have the experience, we don't get hired. So like, how do you build the experience when you're just starting out? And I think you mentioned there, Diego, that notion of a portfolio. This is something that designers and creators have been doing for a long time. And I think in today's marketing world, you can build up a marketing portfolio of, ideas and ideas for campaigns and things that you would do. I think, Mattia, as you mentioned, like as you had the role. Briain, any other things that you would add there when you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, just to build on that, like the barrier to entry for digital marketing is so low. There's nothing stopping you just starting, build a blog, run a small campaign. Portfolio beats buzzwords every single day of the week. Like with ChatGPT or whatever your AI poison of choice is, the proliferation of buzzwords on resumes is insane, and there is buzzword blindness, I'm calling it. But where you can show me, like I always read resumes ahead of interviews, and where there's links out to see people's work, I go and I look and I see some of the best interviews have created work specifically for the job that they're applying for. Like, again, using the tools at your disposal, come up with some ideas for campaigns built off of consumer insight and creative that you literally show that you're either a designer, you're able to appropriately prompt AI and demonstrate, I guess, your capabilities through work as opposed to just claims.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to get started, and it shows that you have initiative as well. Going back to, it's not just about the experience in a job, but it's also about those soft skills, those things that are innate to people, being proactive, having initiative, etc. So yeah, and obviously we talked about AI. How can you? It's a fun world to be a marketer right now. It's a scary world as well to be a marketer right now. Diego, let's start with you. What do you think are the biggest digital marketing trends shaping the industry in 2025, that as people are listening in and they're thinking about, I want to go into that space, what should they be thinking about?
Right. Everybody knows, as you mentioned, Genefa, AI is revolutionizing marketing. Right now, we see, I think one of the most game-changing trends is the integration of AI in all the phases of marketing. So we can, I always tell students that we are moving from content creators to content managers or content curators, right? We need to use AI sometimes to make easier the content creation phase. And we have to have more critical skills, creativity, another great things that to choose the right content to connect with your audience. So Another thing that we are seeing a huge growth in the last year is the short form videos. So like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels. We're seeing great results on students that are applying these strategies on their businesses. They're having great results. But I always tell that in this world of AI, it's very important to keep to value authenticity and human connection. So that's vital for success in today's market. So being authentic, human-centered marketing is more important than ever these days. For example, if you are doing content, you can showcase your brand's personality, telling maybe real stories, showing your team, your products, your day-to-day, one-on-one with the community, and also with clients. So that human connection in these days is also very important.
Yeah. It's a differentiator at the end of the day, right? Because there is so much AI out there. I think the human piece is the differentiator. Mattia, what about you? What are some of the trends that you're seeing in digital marketing, and then the skills that go with them, right? As people are thinking about, going into these interviews, what should they be thinking about? What should they be researching to be able to have an informed discussion?
Sure. I'll helicopter or take a connection from what Diego mentioned, and maybe zoom in a little bit on one specific area that I'm actually now currently discussing with my team as we speak, which is the evolution of SEO from the pre-AI era to today, right? Like how traffic will change, and SEO is dead, quote unquote. T-shirt that we can all go around with. So I'd say that one is definitely one that is top of mind, is definitely a trend that we're all kind of look out for. Some of us are seeing different trends depending either the industry working, the vertical, the user behavior, the traffic sources that we all see compared to maybe others. But nonetheless, things will change and have been changing for most of us, right? So definitely that is a trend that we're keeping an eye on. We're understanding how the user behavior will change, both from a B2C perspective, but potentially B2B. How can we target user? How can we attract users? What we found out so far is probably not going to shock anybody, which it's actually very much connected with what Diego mentioned. A lot of the best practices that we were applying before, great value content, reputation, building a brand, are all things that in the past, lots of non-marketers wouldn't want to listen to because it does take time and effort, but effectively still the right way to go about it, right? So, but I would say that is definitely a trend. It's a theme rather than a trend, perhaps, that I'm personally very dedicated to and working with my team on. So what do we need to do to make sure that we are top of mind in LLMs? How do we make sure that we capture the traffic, the high intent traffic? How do we make sure we generate more traffic? And I would say a lot of, again, the people that will be successful here are the ones that will be able to connect, don't panic, first of all, and be able to connect the past best practices and evolve them and be flexible, but at the same time keeping strict principles in mind with a lot of data. I would say that's another one that definitely we're dedicated a lot of time on.
Makes sense. Briain, what about you? What trends are you looking out for and the skills that go with them?
I mean, I don't really subscribe to the idea that AI is revolutionizing marketing. Just to be that guy on the webinar.
I love it. Why not?
I mean, I think AI is a tool. And I think the core of marketing is constant. I think the consumer human behavior is constant. The tools at their disposal and the tools at marketers' disposal is the thing that has changed. So whether it be it's a new channel. So to your point, Mattia, again, something that's very top of mind on my team is looking at branded search volume and what's happening there, and then what's coming through other channels like LLMs is really interesting, and trying to navigate that uncertainty. But from a marketing perspective, like AI fluency is critical, like having expertise in prompting and auditing the outputs, but you need to use it as an extension to your creative and strategic thinking. But marketing thinking in terms of understanding your audience, building a powerful positioning, working out where you're going to reach them and how to creatively connect with them is constant today as it was 20 years ago. I think we just have tools now at our disposal that can make us faster, more creative, more personalized. And I think adapting to that world is going to really define who are the winners and losers in the next 5 years.
If I can challenge that a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead, Mattia. Yeah.
Partially challenge, Brian. Completely agree with what you're saying. I think it is a little bit of revolution in the sense that the work that as marketers we'll all have to do in the past to convince other non-marketers of the value of everything you said is now harder. Because in the past, yes, you had the trends, you had your channel, hot channel of the moment, right? Where everybody wanted you to do, no matter if it was needed or not, or the key campaign that you had to do because competitor X was doing it, so you had to do it as well. Now there's a lot more education that as a marketer I think you have to invest on to bring your stakeholder, forget about your CEO, but even your peers along with you to explain how AI should be used, should be not used, and exactly what you're saying, that the work that we were doing before is not going out the window just because to your point, the AI poison of choice is now in. And we'll have a lot to be prepared to potentially push back on some of this. Company did this campaign in 30 seconds with AI. Sure, great, but let's dig deeper, understand exactly what that meant. So, partially challenge your point, but I the intent was +1.
Yeah, I think, and that's actually something that I will say to all of you in there. Be prepared when you go into marketing that everyone thinks that they can do your job. More so than any other specialty in the organization. And with AI, everyone thinks they can really do your job. And now you're not doing your job because, Mattia, like you said, you didn't launch a campaign within 30 seconds because AI can do that. So I think that's something from a mindset perspective. As you're going into your career or you're looking to grow your career, it is actually very important to have a point of view. And I think especially when it comes to AI, as you're going in and interviewing, it's okay to have that perspective that AI is a great enabler, but it is not going to be the be all and end all to fix everything. And I think that actually, I don't know about you all, but when I have candidates that come to me with a much more grounded opinion and can see both sides to it, then I think that's actually really strong. So I think that's a really important point. I'm glad we talked about that. Okay, so Diego, I'm going to come to you. One of the questions that we had that came in the chat was, what are some of the highest demand or highest in demand digital marketing specialties, and what are some of the lowest demand flooded DM specialties? So especially with AI, like if people are thinking about, okay, where should I specialize? What are your thoughts on where to specialize versus maybe where not to?
Right, great question. So we are seeing, as I mentioned, we have a lot of beginners in the courses. We are seeing a high demand for AI, and especially from people that are small business owners that they don't have a team. So if for big companies that have a team, it may be a little bit different. But for the small entrepreneur that is building their online presence, and they go to Udemy, to the courses, to learn how they can do that, or how they can do in a team of two or by themselves, they are seeing, we are seeing a lot of people with this specific request on how they can use, and they don't know where to start, right? How they can use AI, if there are a course that they can take to learn to do the basic. They have a bakery and they don't have a website, they don't have an online presence. So they want to start building that and getting started with that online presence. So these are the courses that we are seeing a lot of demand. Also, from the corporate area, we are seeing a great activity on the ChatGPT and AI for work. So how they can use in their daily activities, depending on the role they have, how AI can facilitate their life. So not only for marketing itself, but for the person that is going every day to the company and trying to do their work, and they have different type of roles. So we, for example, in one of the courses, we have a prompt master, let's say, that they can customize, and they can use that to start a conversation with the AI, so they can start having ideas on how they can use this new tool to improve their daily job. And we work in marketing, and we are very aware of the technology and all the evolutions that we have recently, but it's unbelievable. But many people we see still not understanding exactly how they can use this tool, how they can use it on their daily life, or even for marketing. So that's one big area that we are working right now.
Yeah, so making sure that you're up on your core AI skills. And I think, Briain and Mattia, you've both talked about your core marketing skills, customer journey, analytics, insights, campaigns. And there's another question that's come up. Briain, maybe I'll ask you, right? Whoop, it's all about data. And, when we think about marketing, there was a period of time, and there still is, where it's data, data, data. What do you think about the role of data in the role of the digital marketer? And what are some of the skills, the data skills that you look for in your team, in your marketers?
It remains sort of the defining power of digital marketing over other channels, where the data at your fingertips can help guide business strategy through to short-term tactics. Ultimately, though, data is useless on its own. It's only when people can interpret the data and derive meaning from data, that's when it becomes powerful. So identifying opportunities and threats is effectively the key to whether there's value in data or not. And your ability to either directly or through systems like ChatGPT, etc., make sense of that data is what I look for in individuals.
I love that. And also as well, one thing I'd add to that is data storytelling, right? So when you think of a skill that you maybe need to develop, it's not just how do you interpret the data and get insights from it, because we can all read the data, see the data, but how do you tell a good story with the data? Mattia, what about you? What are some of the data? Do you still look for data skills in your marketers, your digital marketers?
Yeah, 100. I was literally gonna copy Brian's answer there. Like, there's two key specialty which fall under the kind of the umbrella of being able to speak different languages, right? The most successful marketers that I've seen are the ones that can speak multiple languages, and then ideally connect both the marketer language and the technical language. Now, a technical be speaking with developers about a website, being able to speak with the data scientist about the data they're looking at. I would say the person that the most successful co-workers or team members that I've had were always these people that were able, either through work or through predisposition or through interest, to connect with other people outside of marketing and be able to either take the data and tell the story, going back into my earlier point of being able to justify and selling the value of marketing. It's critical to have somebody in your team or as a peer or ideally yourself to be able to look at data and explain in lame terms, non-marketing jargons, why certain things are important and what their non-marketers are looking at. And I would say the other one role that I feel it's returning definitely for me more and more importantly is more of a customer marketing role, like somebody that really brings in the data element, brings in the flow experience element, brings in the touch points of copy and content, understanding, a lot of our companies we put our customer first, right, in our taglines and values, which is great, but do they truly do it? ? And I think again, having a marketing team, or ideally it's yourself as the first person that really truly cares about looking at the data, understanding where your customers are going through and fixing pain points. I think that's highly, highly impactful, especially to not only have and develop, but also challenge others to have and develop.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that's a really cool piece is if you can come into a role and you know how to map a customer journey, think about a customer journey, bring ways in which to bring the voice of the customer into the marketing planning process. That's critically important because, yeah, everybody says it, but too often, it doesn't always happen, right? So everyone's got the best intent, but it requires a lot of focus to be able to do that. So yeah, I think that's really key and really cool. The other thing as well that I'll just touch on, Mattia, that you talked about is, especially if you're not new coming into digital marketing, but maybe you're mid-career, one of the pieces of advice I always have is go and do a job outside of marketing. Like many of you here, right? You've had Briain, Mattia, Diego, you've had jobs outside of marketing. It gives you a different perspective. And it also, I think, empowers you to be able to then have a stronger conversation with people, because they realize that, oh, hey, you're not just a marketer, you're a marketer who's been in sales or biz dev or product management. What are some of your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, if I can start, actually, I was actually reflecting on the previous question from Ross, I think, on having 40 years of experience in a variety of roles, but not in marketing. I don't think that's a bad thing. On the contrary, like, you bring a lot of different point of views that a marketer may not have. So a lot of great marketers that I added to my team in the past were people coming from product that add that massive important element to the rest of the marketer team. Or people coming from data, again, non-marketers, but they brought in what I was mentioning earlier of connecting the data element, and they were learning the marketing jargon in the channel. So I think definitely being able to be humble, understand what you bring to the table, what your experience is, no matter how long or short it was, but definitely if you may not have the marketing or digital marketing background, but you have something else to bring, be focused on what that is. Realize then what you're missing if you want to go to marketing, or by the way, the same goes the other way around. If you want to go outside of marketing and learn something new, just be deliberate, right? Be deliberate, focused, build a plan. Don't let it be chance because maybe a person asks you to join, or a coworker's like, why don't you, like, be deliberate, build a plan, and be focused. I'd say those are the three things. But definitely the opportunities are there.
Excellent. Briain, Diego, anything you want to add? No? Okay. Well, you've all done different roles outside of marketing. I have as well. I went from consulting to product to marketing. I think it definitely helps, gives you a different perspective. So it goes back to that. Be confident, but be humble, right? Know what you bring to the table. If you've spent, 40 years in sales or in product, you're going to bring a whole set of new perspectives that the team might not have. And so I think it's really important to bring. Okay. So let's get to a little bit more advice. So let's go with this question. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self? If you can, boil it down to 3 words. But if you had to give advice to your 20-year-old self who was starting out in the world of digital marketing, what advice would you give? Mattia, let's start with you.
Well, reflecting on this one, I would say if I could speak to my 20-year-old self or 20 years ago, I would say buy NVIDIA stocks. That would be the first thing I would start with. But more seriously, I would say definitely build a plan and seek the big picture. So probably seek the big picture. Forgive me the there in there, but those would be the 3 words. So what do I mean by it? A lot of even myself, and starting with, as I said, with SEO, it's my first channel. We all started somewhere, right? Either being a marketing channel or something. And that's all you focus on. You want to do the best you can be at that particular job, which is human nature, is absolutely understandable. If somebody have told me, hey, look, that's great, but that's part of a bigger plan. You have to first understand where the business is going, what your manager cares about, what other channels interact with. That, I mean, you can still be an expert in one specific field or a channel, but unless you understand the connection between that, your role, being as junior as it can be, with others, you're just going to be less impactful, right? So definitely seek and understand the big picture is the big one for me.
You can understand the big picture. I like it. Excellent. Okay, Briain.
I'd go for don't chase titles, chase environments. So places that you can learn and grow either through great managers or companies that have support around. I think that's where I'd go.
Yeah. And that's actually critically important, because one thing that I will say is a lot of times when people come in to roles, they're like, hey, I want to be promoted, and I want to be a VP, and I want to be a director. And it's like, yeah, but you actually like focus on getting the job done, focus on the outcome, and it will come. Like, and if you find yourself the right boss, I think, Briain, when we were talking before, like you find yourself the right boss, the right mentors, right? You advocate for yourself. There's a difference between advocating for yourself and showcasing your work, and then being like, yeah, but I want to be a VP after I've been here for 3 months. So I think that's the other thing as well is, go back to that, be humble, but be thoughtful, do advocate for yourself. But yeah, find the right experiences where you'll be able to showcase your talents. Diego, what about you?
Great advice, guys. I am taking notes here also. Thank you. I would say that there is always time to start or restart something on your life, on your career, and change something on your life. So if I always tell my students, because it's something that I would like people to tell me when I was 20 years old, is that you can change anything on your life. So if you are not happy on your job or on the daily job you do or with anything, you can change it. If you believe it, you can change it 100%. Okay. And another phrase is that going outside your comfort zone is where we grow, right? When we go outside the comfort zone, when we are doing things that we are not comfortable, maybe seeking a new career, maybe growing or going in a meeting with your boss, and you will put that idea on the meeting, that's when you are growing. And there is a phrase that I always repeat for years, which says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So if there is a cave and I am afraid to go in because I don't know what is inside, it's dark and I'm scared. So the treasure is there. If I go and I get courageous and I go inside and I will get and I will grow. So that's the main advice for me.
I like it. Excellent. Okay, so there's a few different things here. I think that being humble, being confident, having belief, being passionate as well about what you want to do, seeing the bigger picture. And I think the other thing as well is remembering the core fundamentals. So yes, AI is super important. So make sure as you're thinking about your resume, know your AI prompting skills, know your AI tools that are out there, know how AI is changing the landscape, but don't over rotate on those skills. Think about those core fundamental skills: customer journey, data analytics and insights, critical thinking, creative thinking, all super important. So as we wrap up here, I think one thing that I think is always insightful to learn from other marketers is, are there any recent campaigns that have really impressed you and what made them stand out? And the reason why I asked that question is because I think that's one question that I always like to ask people in an interview is like, when you think of the bar of marketing, what do you think is like the high bar? So who wants to start with a campaign that they've particularly enjoyed and why?
I can start. I wear a Whoop, so I'm a Whoop guy, and I was very impressed with the last campaign, Brian. When you launched the new version of the device, the 5, I think it's 5.0, because I think that you listen to your clients on that case, because you created a lot of new features that when I saw that, I said, man, they are reading my mind. This is exactly what I needed. So congratulations on that. I'm not sure if you were involved, but it was great.
I love it. Excellent. See, listening to customers, know the voice of the customer, critically important. Okay, Briain, you can't say your own campaign.
Love that. No, I hope this is being recorded, is it? No, appreciate that very much.
Diego's done it for you. What's a campaign you've loved?
I really enjoyed an activation that Gymshark did recently. So Gymshark is an up-and-coming, challenging apparel brand out of the UK. Hyrox, fitness racing. I think you have to be living under a rock if you haven't heard of Hyrox at this point. They did a huge deal with Puma last year to become the official apparel partner of Hyrox. Gymshark obviously has no affiliation to Hyrox, but around the corner from Hyrox London, they took over a laundrette, and they called it the Laundrette, where anyone that participated in the Hyrox could come out, go around the corner, get their clothes dry cleaned for free, and then when you finish a Hyrox, you get one of these patches that you can sew onto a bag or a top or whatever. If you did it and you presented your timesheet to Hyrox, they give you a free hoodie where they stitch on your Hyrox, basically the badge of honor that you completed Hyrox, but it is Gymshark on the other side. Puma's nowhere near it. So they absolutely guerrillaed Puma out of it, and they had lines queued up around the block. It was everywhere online, and I'm sure Puma were absolutely fuming. I enjoyed watching it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's a good skill. That's a good tip for all of those people out there. Guerrilla marketing, and thinking out of the box, and how you leverage social and the whole influencer and getting on top of those types of things. Think about those types of campaigns as well, because that's where you can dare to be different and be a little bit cheeky. And that's what we need in marketers as well. Mattia, what about you? What's a favorite campaign from you?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a favorite campaign, but it's definitely a bit of a recency bias. Actually, it happened this weekend. And this is a B2B world. We're talking to one brand that I'm following because I really like how they do PLG, how to do growth is Lovable. So this weekend they've done a 48 hours freemium offering, and I think they're great at prepping for it, driving excitement, but also urgency. They know the timing is hot. There's a lot of obviously eyes on them, and I think they used it very deliberately over the weekend. I think they built like 250,000 apps in 48 hours, something like that. Obviously, writing on the vibe coding trends right now. So definitely that, not necessarily a campaign, because there's nothing, not as an example brand said, or your typical B2C guerrilla marketing. It was definitely simpler, but I think a great example of realizing the timing is right. So the best campaigns often are very simple as well. They don't have to be complicated, right? Offering something that people clearly want at a great price, at speed, right? Immediacy. Over the weekend, by the way, right? So obviously you knew that people had to do the extra mile, but guess what? They were available because they were not doing the work, right? Clearly they knew that their target. So I'd say that is a great example, again, out of recency, because literally I was traveling this weekend, or last weekend, sorry, and I couldn't do it because I was traveling, but definitely that FOMO was there. Because of it.
No. Super exciting. And it goes back to another thing, right? Think about the skills, right? So learning your AI tools like Lovable, right? Where you can build instant prototypes, apps, cursor, vibe coding is just as much of an awesome trend, I think, for marketeers to be learning as well, because it will allow you to take your ideas and turn them into something reality. So yeah, I really like that. And the idea that they essentially, for weekend for free, was really great. So yeah, I love that for sure. Okay, so let me just see if we've got any additional questions here. We did have one question: what's something your peers disagreed with you on but served you well? So maybe was there, Mattia, you had spoken about having to educate your peers. Has there been a time when maybe your peers have disagreed with an approach that you've taken as a marketing leader, but in the end, it turned out right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's being a marketer, as you said earlier, it is definitely required tough skin. It's definitely a wonderful world. So I'm not discouraging anybody to throw themselves into marketing or try marketing for sure, but definitely it's an ongoing work to educate slash bring along with you on the journey. I would say the biggest disagreements sometimes, the one that comes to mind is the decision not to invest in certain things. So especially if you're talking to peers in sales, right? That obviously, in realizing, once again, coming from different backgrounds actually help you potentially if you come to marketing. So if you come from sales, you probably know that there's a different time horizon in your head compared to a marketer, right? You're thinking weeks, if not months, maybe quarter at the latest. As a marketer, you got to think potentially years in front of you, especially if you're working in brand versus DG versus other fields. So realizing that, as a marketer, sometimes you have to say, look, I don't want to spend paid media budget on a certain thing because simply is not the right thing to do. So you need to go back into the data element. You need to have data to back up why that's the case, why the return is not there, why the CAC or the LTV do not justify that investment. And sometimes it's counterintuitive, right? Because as a marketer, you would say, oh, the more budget, the better. The more I spend, the better. It's not always the case. Obviously, every company is different. Every situation is different. But I would say recently, and those conversations can happen more frequently if the company potentially struggling or is not getting the traffic that they want, etc. Right? Like being rushed into decisions that you don't believe in. That happens often as a challenge, but that's why I was joking about, it's an everyday thing, right? And it's good to be challenged because obviously sometimes you also maybe rethink some of the dogmas that you've been taught as a marketer. So I would say typically that's a typical example of a challenge or a curveball that I get from my peers for sure.
I like that. Excellent. And then this next question, Briain, I'm going to come to you because you mentioned that you've been agency side and then also in an organization as well. So this question is, while I'm learning the digital marketing skills, I'm trying to get into the market, but I feel like I'm lacking experience and trying to get an entry level agency job. So what are your thoughts about, as you're starting in your marketing career, do you go for a job with an agency or do you go to a brand? Is there advice on where to start and what they're looking for in different ways?
I mean, client, agency, or supplier, a lot of it comes down to preference. I don't think there's any specific barrier that one has or doesn't. For that person, what I'd recommend is to try to get really good at one thing. Become an expert in, like, we're lucky right now, or everybody on this call is lucky right now that there is this new horizon that everybody acknowledges is there, and even being on this call, showing interest and participating in some of Diego's work, etc., shows that everybody, I'm talking to the right people, but specialization creates early value. And so no matter what, where you want to go into, whether it be agency or client side, having that specialism helps you stand out. I mean, that's what happened to me leaving Google, however many years ago, 12 or 13 years ago. I was expert in digital media at that point. It was like a bolt-on to a marketing team that were very focused on traditional media channels. We're facing that same reality, whereas there's a new horizon, there's a new channel, there's new tools that traditional marketers are kind of lazy. And they're definitely afraid, and you are the ones that are sort of standing out by being proactive and intentional, trying to get ahead of it and learn and see what the application is. But by becoming that specialist, you will stand out. And then it goes back to what we were talking about at the top. Portfolios can be powerful in demonstrating that not only you know how to use a tool, but how you could potentially apply a tool in a certain role. That will really help you stand out in conversations.
Also, in prime conversations, you guys mentioned, Mattia and Briain, the importance of having a plan, right? So if you are going into the market, having a plan of where you want to get and what are the steps you need to take to get there. Can you share something more about that for the viewers?
I can. Actually, I was definitely resonating with what Briain was saying, because I also have worked in agency for a small stint and clearly decided at some point I want to go in-house. But also I reconnected what Diego, what you were mentioning about taking risks. So I left Uber for a startup of 50 people, right? Taking risks. It was definitely scary. It was definitely like, am I making the right decision? But I felt at the time was the right step for my plan and for the learning experience that I want to go for. So my plan, I have a dream in whatever years to become, to retire somewhere in maybe south of Italy, and become an advisor and help young people that want to start up. And that's why I'm a mentor sometimes. I'm an investor as well, because that's what I like to do effectively. So I knew that to do that, I need to see different things. So Uber, as great as it is, was not giving me the ability to experience what the founders go through, the trial, the startup, grind as well. So that's where some of the choices that I made, sometimes leaving a company versus project that I took, were made in mind with my plan to go full-time advisor, again, whenever the time is right. And it took me years to develop, by the way, this plan. It only got to me around pre-Uber years. So again, probably 7 years in the making, eight years in the making, right? So it's okay not to have it, but definitely don't stop looking. It's okay if you have a plan, but keep asking yourself, what is the plan? At some point, it's going to come.
Yeah, I think that's critically important. Yeah, I love that. It's okay not to have it, but be thinking about it. And eventually it does all come together. I think that's the other thing as well. And I love what you said, that the specialization, Briain, creates early value. I think to the point that Mohammed was making there, sometimes the agencies, they want all in one job and all in one marketer, but there is tremendous value in being a specialist in one area and being able to show the ability to spread your wings. You don't have to know all of those other areas, but an aptitude and a willingness to be able to learn those other areas. Now, one of the other questions that came up as well, as Sam mentioned, it specifically within the context of the region that he's in. But as we wrap up here at the end, I'd like to ask you, keeping up with all the trends in marketing is not easy. So do each of you have a favorite podcast, blog, book, place that you go to keep up with the latest trends? Diego, maybe I'll start with you.
Well, I will go to Udemy, because in Udemy, basically, you can learn everything about any subject, and you can learn from start to being an absolute expert in any area. So that's my tip, 100%. I teach on Udemy, but I use it as a student also. So I'm always watching courses. The most recent one that I watch is about ukulele. So I'm trying to learn how to play the ukulele. So it's there from beginners. So I'm dealing with that right now.
I like it. Excellent. Briain, what's your favorite? Where do you go? What have you got, a favorite podcast or blog to keep up with the latest trends?
I'm already looking forward to Diego playing us out at the end here. But now, honestly, my number one tip is to be really intentional about curating your LinkedIn feed. There's incredible content available and really live. Like last week with the Cannes Lions happening and the Festival of Creativity happened, it was live coming out. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough to make it across, but so much of the great content was instantly available in my fingertips. And then, you can rip down your docs and stick it into Notebook LM and listen to it as a podcast out in the run. Yeah, LinkedIn for me is my go-to.
Yeah, it's great. And I love your advice there about put it into, you can even create your own agent, right? To pull all of that data, put it into, a Notebook LM, turn it into a podcast, and then, listen to it on your walk, listen to it whilst you're making dinner, whatever it might be. And just have that done every single week. Mattia, what about you?
Yeah, I have a similar answer to Briain. I feel like I'm in content overload sometimes, so I don't necessarily have one. I try to have multiple, maybe to add a different point of view. I try as much as I can to actually connect with peers in person or over a call more frequently. It is sometimes difficult, but you can go at the level of an altitude much lower than you can ever just listening. So I miss a bit of the interaction when I'm just digesting content, right? So things like these are great. Definitely look forward to reconnecting with Briain, for example, or Diego in the future. It's like, hey, I'm having this issue. What have you seen? That is the beauty of building your marketing network, and that's where the big advice that I have for everybody in the call. No matter if you're a newbie, no matter if you've been in marketing for 50 years, like you always have to learn and talking to people that have done it or have a different perspective, it's a lot, it's very useful, right? And not to describe it, the blogs or content, that's great, but they serve a different purpose in my head.
Yeah, definitely. So as we come to the end of time, one thing I will say is, again, we've put the LinkedIn for each of our panelists here in the chat. Take a look at it. When you reach out, here's my piece of advice. Don't just send an invite. Like, actually, like, hey, I heard you on the webinar. Give a bit of context, right? And then, you know, you should always reach out to people. I do it as well. I reach out the other week. I actually reached out to the CMO of Tubi because I heard a podcast that she did I thought was wonderful. I don't know her. Reached out to her on LinkedIn, gave her a bit of context. She replied back to me. It was wonderful. It was great. So, you know, just do that. Take that level of discomfort, reach out, build your network, and hopefully we've helped you do that here today. So a big thank you, Mattia, Diego, Briain. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And thank you to everyone for joining. Really, really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day or your evening. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.